What is up, guys? Team Yugi here with another deck profile. I had gotten a request on a prior video asking to update the Nekroz list. I'm assuming it's referring to the Nekroz Shaddoll list that I had posted probably a month or two ago, and I'm going to do that for you guys today. This is a very fun deck that, if no one knows the history, actually popped up and was fairly relevant back in 2015 before Nekroz and Shaddoll suffered the hits on the ban list that they did. So this deck actually used to have a lot of potential and a really high ceiling, and now the fact that we have Unicorn back to 3, it does have more potential, because if your opponent does not negate the summon of the Unicorn by stopping the Nekroz spells, typically they can't play through your board because all of their negations are going to be negated, because they'll be monsters that were summoned from the extra deck. So essentially the goal of the deck is to make a Unicorn, kind of break the board apart a little bit, and then go into your Shaddoll plays and just go off from there. But I'm going to showcase the updated list that I've been toying around with. It should still be 40 cards. This deck gets like a little more complex in building it because of the addition of the 2 Unicorn. Trying to keep it to 40 cards is very difficult. There are a few things that I would like to add in here, but I just don't have the space to, so I've opted to just keep it as is. But starting off with the main deck, we have 3 Nekroz of Unicorn. Obviously having this card come back to 3 was the biggest boost that could get. It gives you not only access to rank 4 monsters, but it also just gives you access to shutting your opponent's board off, which is very helpful. And the fact that it's 2300 is really nice too. It's a pretty solid attack for a level 4. 3 Nekroz of Brionac. Obviously you want to search your Nekroz monsters, and this is your best way of doing so. He's also really good with his bounce effect too, especially if you get him and Unicorn out. It's definitely a big plus for you. 2 Nekroz of Clausulus. Clausulus is your search for your spells, for your Nekroz spells that is, and it does help with the negation and the dropping the attack. If you draw into like a hand that's not phenomenal, you can still end on a Clausulus and probably a Unicorn to try and stop more cards on your opponent's field. Just the basic stuff, nothing crazy there. Then we play 2 Trish. This is one of your big boss monsters for the Nekroz package. Being able to banish your opponent's cards as well as avoid your Nekroz cards from being targeted is very helpful. I play 2 Valkyrus. Valkyrus is the one that I always contemplate whether I want to play 2 or 1 in this list. If I'm playing like pure Nekroz, then I'll play 2 all the time. But in this list, I kind of bounce back and forth between playing 2 and 1. It's kind of preference. It's just, there are times where it comes up more and times where it doesn't, but I think if you can end on searching it, it is still very useful. And then I play the 1 Charette. You really don't have room to play more than 1 unless you cut one of the Valks and toss in a second Charette, which I usually don't find to be very useful, so I typically just keep the 1 Charette rather than 2. Then we play, to supplement the Nekroz package, we play 3 Manju. I think that Manju overall is just really good. Being able to grab either the spell or the monster that you need for your Nekroz engine to pop off is very important. This is also like the only normal summon that you need in the deck, which is nice. Knowing that you don't have to go into a bunch of other normal summons to pop off is perfect. And like, you really don't even have to draw this card. It's just an extender at that point that can get you further into your combo and help you OTK a little bit better. But it's not a requirement. It's just something that I think is really useful. Then for the Shaddoll lineup, I have 1 Beast, 1 Squamata, 1 Dragon, 1 Hedgehog, 1 Falco, 1 Wendy, and 1 Ariel. So in the previous list, I was playing some multiples. I believe I was playing 2 Wendy and 2 Squamata, or 2 Wendy and 2 Hedgehog. I can't remember the exact ratio. But I have opted to cut it down to 1 of each Shaddoll monster. The reason behind that is that I really don't want to draw any of these for the most part, because we're going second, so you just kind of want to draw your Shaddoll fusion or something, and then go off with that and send whatever you need from deck to start your combo. But overall, still playing all of these is worth it. They definitely help out and help you progress through your Shaddoll plays, which will obviously get you to an OTK a lot more quickly. Then I do still play a couple Perform Mages. I just play Damage Juggler and Trick Clown. I think that these are really important with the construct play with Shaddoll Fusion. It helps you go through your Cross Sheep combo and go into a potential OTK, or at least putting huge damage on board that your opponent can't recover from. So playing each of these at 1 is pretty typical. You really don't need to draw them either, you just kind of want to send them. And then for the spell cards, I play 2 Shaddoll Fusion and 2 El Shaddoll Fusion. The reason that I only play 2 Shaddoll Fusion, I'll explain when we get to the next spell, which is one of the Nekroz cards, and like it requires some of the extra deck too. So I'll basically just explain it, and I'll basically be telling you one of the extra deck cards I'm playing before I get to the extra deck. But you only need 2 Shaddoll Fusion. You don't want to draw into multiples at all. You just want to draw into one, and then the El Shaddoll Fusion is searchable basically off of the Shaddoll combo, which is really nice. Then I'll explain here with the Kaleidoscope and the Shaddoll Fusion, that way you guys can understand what I'm talking about. What you can do is you can go Nekroz of Kaleidoscope, and you can send, and I'm going to pull this out here, you can send your Apokalon to grave to summon a Brionac from hand, and then your Apokalon can search for a Shaddoll Fusion, and then you just discard a card from your hand. So basically your Kaleidoscope can search for what you need, and I'm sorry, I just bumped the camera there, but your Kaleidoscope can basically search for your Shaddoll Fusion by sending the Apokalon, which is really nice. But that's the reason that I only play 2 Shaddoll Fusion. And if you feel like you're gonna get ashed, you know, you still go through it and you bait the ash out, and then you just do your other plays. 2 Cycle, this helps you revive cards from the graveyard, which is pretty useful. It's not like the best card, but it's still something that's worth playing. There are times where like you'll make your Trishula without like a Charette, and you'll like banish stuff from grave with a mirror, and then you'll be able to the next turn see a Charette, and then you use the Charette to revive the Trish and use the effect. So that's pretty useful. Cycle is just really good overall. And then I play 1 Mirror. Mirror is just really good specifically for the Trish play, but there are other times where it comes up and you just have to use it for a standard ritual summon. Then I play 3 Preparation of Rites. The card's just insane in this deck overall, being able to search more and add your resources back from grave to hand. It'll save you a lot. Trust me, this card is just the best searcher in the deck. Then for the 1-ofs, we play 1 Foolish, 1 Rhoda. I think that these overall are just your best picks. The Foolish typically is going to be for your Shaddoll engine, and the Rhoda typically is going to be for either your Colossus or your Charette. It just helps you get to where you need to be and add more cards to your hand. Then for the traps, we just play 1 Resh. I think that it's important for the combo, and if you draw it, you can still just discard it in certain ways, and or you could set it, and it's going to serve you the best purposes possible. I really, really love the card, and I think it helps a lot. Definitely helps you proceed through with your OTKs. But moving on to the extra deck now. The extra deck is pretty tight on space as well, but it's understandable considering the engines that we're putting together. It's not going to be easy to just make all this fit as one, but we play 2 Construct, 2 Winda, 1 Apokalon, and 1 Untitled. I'm just going to straighten these out a little bit here and hope that glares a little bad. We'll move these down a little, and that should help. Perfect, that helps a good amount. So the reason that I opted to go with these particular ratios is that the Apokalon, you really don't summon it that much, and it's just good to get your Shaddoll Fusion when you need it, and there'll be times where you already have the Shaddoll Fusion, so you can actually fuse into the Apokalon instead, which is also very useful. Then the 2 Construct, I don't think you need more than 2. You only need 2 for the combo, and you can still reset it off of Resh, or you can shuffle it back in off of one card in particular that I'm going to show you in a second. The Untitled is just really good in this deck because you have the ability to go into it with El Shaddoll Fusion, using a Shaddoll monster in a Nekroz monster because they're all waters. But the Untitled doesn't come up as much. It's still good though. You know, there are applications in which it is very useful. It's just that it's not the most frequently summoned of all the fusions. And then double Winda, just being able to stop your opponent from spamming the board, is pretty darn useful in this meta. Now, for the rank 4 Xyz, I play 1 Dweller and 1 Emerald. So the Emerald is obviously another way that you can recycle your resources, not just your Nekroz cards, but also your Shaddoll cards. So you have access to multiple things that are going to be really useful over multiple turns, rather than just burning through everything. And the fact that it gives you a draw of a card is also pretty nice. That way you could possibly draw a card that you shuffled in that you might want in your hand. So playing the Emerald is definitely useful, and then the Dweller is just, you know, for your generic decks that use the graveyard a lot. I mean, Eldritch is one of the big ones that's obviously going to pop into mind, but decks like Salamangreat as well. Anything else that you could possibly think of. There's a lot of graveyard heavy decks, so the Dweller is useful. Then we do play the Double Herald. I thought about cutting it down to 1 because, like, there's a million other ways that you can summon your Unicorn, but when I thought about it, I thought that playing 2 Herald was just too good, so I opted to keep it at 2. And then moving over to the Link monsters, we have 1 Cross Sheep, which is obviously going towards the OTK combo, 1 Selene, which is really good in this deck because there's so many spells, 1 Unicorn, just to shuffle stuff back. Card's really useful because there are a lot of cards that can't be destroyed by card effect. So if you can like shuffle Golden Lord back into the deck, sometimes that's really useful. So those are the Link 2s and 3s. And then for the Link 4s, we obviously play the 1 Access Code Talker, and then I play 1 Boros. So the Selene combo can get you into either Boros or Talker. It doesn't make a difference which one you go into, but you can go into either one with the Selene combo, which is really nice. And the fact that you have so many spells in the deck, it's just super helpful, and it's really not going to hurt you that much trying to make Selene. And the fact that all your Shaddoll monsters are spellcasters, you can just bring them back, which is also really nice. But that is the extra deck. We're now going to move on to the side deck, and I'm just going to move this camera a little bit because it seems like it keeps bouncing on me, and I keep bumping it with my knuckle today. Just one of those days, apparently. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the side deck. This is something that I typically play with this deck. So when I first started picking this deck up again, it was obviously pre-Unicorn, being at 3. And one of the things that I did is that at my particular locals, we have, I think, 3 or 4 regular locals a week, and then we have 1 casuals locals where, you know, people would just play decks for fun. It's nothing competitive. And I decided to bring this deck for like 2-3 weeks in a row, and I got 1st or 2nd place every single week. And it was, I think it was between like 12 and 18 people for each tournament. It was really, really cool. But I'm going to show you guys the side deck. This is kind of similar to what I was playing before. So 3 Nibiru, this is obviously for the combo heavy decks. It's really, really important to have this at your disposal. That way you can kind of cut your opponent off, or at least make it so that what they end on isn't like 5 negates and it may just be 2, because this deck can play through a lot more than 2 negates. So I definitely think that Nibiru is the way to go. Then I have 2 Denko Sekka and 1 Pankratops for like your back row heavy decks. I think that these cards overall are just super solid. I love these cards so much. Very, very helpful. The Denko especially, because like if you drop this against Eldritch, they just really don't know what to do. Like they don't have they can't chain like any of their stuff to it. So you just drop the Denko and watch them cry, which is really cool. Because then you can go off with your combos and then just beat through everything, which is awesome. Then we have the 3 Cosmic Cyclone for more back row removal, which is also really useful because all the back row that's going around now with Eldritch in particular, and I always reference that, it's basically the deck that you kind of have to prepare for. With Cosmic Cyclone, being able to get rid of their spells and traps, particularly their traps, is awesome because then they can't keep recurring them from deck and getting more and more resources. And by getting rid of them and banishing them, you also don't have to worry about them being summoned on the field as monsters, which is very useful too. So the triple Cosmic is definitely worth playing. Then for the last spell card in the side deck is 3 Dark Ruler No More. If you're going against a super heavy combo deck that's going to end on a bunch of negates, you'll probably want to play this card. It's going to be very, very helpful in making sure that you can break your opponent's board. You may not have to OTK them in one turn. You may just have to drop the Dark Ruler and break their board apart so they can't play on their following turn. And that's fine. As long as you're being able to break their board apart, they're going to struggle in the long run, which is awesome. And then the last card on the side deck is 3 Evenly Matched. I think that Evenly Matched is one of the best cards against back row decks, considering that Altergeist is also really powerful right now. Having Evenly Matched is going to be very, very helpful against that deck. I've started to notice that a lot of Altergeist lists that are topping are side decking Judgment and they're not maining it. They may not think that you're going to play evenly against them with this particular deck because it's just a really weird and off choice. But who knows? They could still side in the Judgment. It's very possible. But considering you go second, you know, you can kind of throw your opponent off too with this deck and kind of send them for a loop. But it's also really good against Eldritch too, because you can get rid of their Eldritch spells and traps, once again similar to the Cosmic Cyclone theory. So either way, it still works out for you and you have a lot of potential with it, which is awesome. So that is the side deck, and that wraps up the main, side, and extra for the Nekroz Shaddoll deck list that I am now testing. It's a lot of fun. I definitely think you should give it a shot. I wouldn't say it's anything super competitive. Maybe when regionals kick up, I might bring it just to see if I could get like a top 32 with it, just for ha-has, because I think I probably could, because the deck does do some really neat stuff, but it's not the world's most competitive deck. It's just something that you play for fun, and it can definitely do some explosive plays in the long run and give you moderate success. But I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile. If you did, give the video a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment down below. It helps that YouTube algorithm out so much. That way I get more views in the long run. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because it's also highly appreciated. And for right now, this has been Team Yugi Feels, and I am signing out.